Hey guys, welcome back again. Dave's Dimension, welcome back again for another video. Welcome back again to the channel. This is your home for tech, toys, and talk, and of course the channel where chaos and insanity will always reign supreme. So we're back again for another unboxing here. Finally, we have Dino Thunder Black Ranger, aka Dr. Tommy Oliver. Now, anyone who's a Power Rangers fan, you know Tommy has been the Green Ranger. He lost those powers, then got them back for a short time. Then he was the White Tiger Ranger. Then he was the White Falcon Ranger. Then, when Mighty Morphin came to a terrible end, well, they shifted into, they first went to the Zeo. He was Zeo Ranger 5, Red, and then they shifted into Turbo, and he was the Red Turbo Ranger for about half a season or so before the Rangers, getting older, they had to go on with their lives, fulfill their destinies, so to speak. And with that being said, Tommy passes powers on to TJ. Of course, we would see Tommy come back in Forever Red, which is very interesting. We saw him come back as Zeo Ranger 5, Red again. But then, years later, Tommy, or should we see Dr. Oliver, was at, I believe it was Reefside, where he came across a few high school students who came across a project that he was working on with an Anton Mercer. And suffice to say, Tommy found his students, they found Dino Gems. And what goes better with Dino Gems? What? Dino Morphers. Tommy had created morphers because he anticipated this kind of situation from happening. So he gave each of his three students a morpher, and they became Dino Thunder Rangers. Now, they didn't have teleporting. They had to get around the old-fashioned way and under Dino Cycles and a few other methods. But then there was a new Dino Gem that was emerging. Well, Tommy would do anything to protect the power from the forces of evil, and he did such a thing. There was a Dino Gem that was encased in this big crystallized, fossil, kind of like an amber fossil. And what happened was, there was an energy blast that exploded it, and we thought it destroyed Tommy. It didn't. Dr. Tommy Oliver became invisible and then rematerialized in front of everyone. And of course, he was picked on. Elsa said, "Don't you think you're a little bit old for this, Tommy?" He says, "I might be old, but I can still pull it off." And that's when he revealed a Dinomorpher of his own, a Brachiomorpher. He merged the gem, and he became the Black Dino Ranger. It was great to see our boy Tommy, Jason David Frank, back in action. Now, let's take a look at this. Now, of course, this is part of Hasbro's initiative, the windowless boxes. Now, don't get me wrong, the graphics look great. This looks tremendous here, but I do miss the windows because a lot of times we've had some paint defects in the past. Of course, we get our Dino Thunder Black. We get the helmet logo right there. And there we go again. Now, his helmet is designed after the Brachiosaurus, but very much like Titanus back in the day. And if you look at the old school Power Ranger merch back in the day, that kind of Brachio dinosaur head was kind of implied with the dragon, with the Green Ranger a lot of times. But guys, let's get right on into this. What do you say? Now, of course, on the box here, we can see he's standing at 6.26 inches tall, 158.9 millimeters. We don't care about that. We care about his brachio staff, his energy effect, and how well does the head sculpt do. We lost Jason David Frank this past year. And it's sad that we won't get more of him, but we can celebrate him. Jason David Frank was a massive, massive part of the franchise. It was even later introduced a Master Morpher, allowing him to morph between the different Rangers that he was. That's green, white, red, red, and of course black. And if you guys want to hear, there's an actual story. There's a book out there you can get on Amazon called, I think it's called Soul of the Dragon. It's kind of like an old man Tommy. Think like old man Logan, but Tommy style. It's available on Amazon on digital and hardback, and I highly recommend picking it up. It's an awesome read. Kind of gives a what if future, including hints to SPD and a lot more, guys. So you definitely want to check it out. So let's open this up. I'm used to seeing this kind of wrapping because this is very similar to what we got with the Zap Megazord. There we go. Now, the Brachiostaff, it is a little bent, but we can kind of bend that back into place a little bit. Maybe a little bit of heat. It's not too bad. It's not great, but, you know, it's not too bad. Aside from that, though, it's got some great detail on here on the handle of the Brachiostaff. Let's take a look at his helmet. His helmet's pretty good. I mean, it's solid black. The only kind of paint we have is around the visor, which is looking pretty solid. Brachio eyes, they don't look perfectly centered, but they look pretty good for the most part. And it almost feels like a rougher plastic, not glossy like some of the other helmets in the past. Now with this, I am almost completed with the Dino Rangers. I just need to get Kira, the Yellow Ranger. And I will say for Dr. Tommy Oliver, I mean it's not a bad sculpt. Eyebrows on the one side could be a little bit. They could have finished it a little bit. It almost looks like an anorexic Schwarzenegger slightly, but I think it's a pretty decent likeness for Dr. Oliver. But here's the thing: almost all my Rangers have their helmets on because of some of the poor paint apps and helmets, or some of the head sculpts that they've done in the past. I mean, for Jason David Frank and Dino Thunder, I think this is pretty good. I think it's pretty good. So let's pop his head off. Let's get the helmet on. There you go. Now, I do wish for the Dino Thunder Rangers that they would have given us maybe a small peg hole or two so that we could have, because they would have their Dino mode where they would kind of like rage out, and the little diamonds that you would see painted on here would actually turn into blades that they could use to fight the bad guys with. And obviously, if you have had a Power Ranger figure before, you know, this is not going to be that much different. It is fully posable, like many of the Ranger figures are. Of course, I always recommend using a flight stand if you have them. The shields on here, the pauldrons, if you will, they look pretty good. The belts is a little loose, so you might want to be careful with that. I mean, it can twist around to the side. Not in a bad way, just, you know, just be mindful of it. So, obviously, he can keep his Brachiostaff holstered like that, very much like he would holster his Dragon Dagger. Now, we do get some alternate hands. We get a closed fist for the left hand, and we get the kind of like the claw pose for the right hand. Those are the extras we get here. Now, we do get his Dino Morpher on his wrist, although I wish they could have done a little splash of gold on here. I may try that with a fine-tipped brush, but, you know, it's just something they could have done, you know. I mean, it's cool that we get that, but, you know, we always want a little bit more, let's be honest. So, are we going to get this to hold properly? I want him to get to hold the Brachiostaff. There we go. And, of course, with this energy effect, got to play around with it to find where the... There we go. Because there's always a weird kind of a slot. There we go. So, we get the Black Ranger with a little energy effect. I have to get like a nice little stand to hold him there. But he stands, mind you, this is a newly built desk, so he does stand. He stands on his own, fairly decently. I do say fairly. Here we go. Let's get a nice little flight stand out. The obligatory Ranger leap. He is very posable, but I mean, this is your basic Ranger body. Okay, there's nothing new about this body. It's just we have the solid paints going up and down. We get the Dino Thunder belt, the pauldrons, and Tommy's helmet. That's it. That's the only thing new about this. I am thankful that the paint apps are good, because that's my fear with these closed boxes. And I think they did do a pretty decent job with his brachio staff. Again, I wish that they had the Dino Rangers with some those Dino blades that go on the sides. But all in all, I am a Tommy. I don't want to say I'm a completionist, but when it comes to Jason David Frank and Tommy, we have every Ranger Tommy has been, with the exception, we don't have a red Turbo Ranger yet. Now, yes, I know TJ is a red Turbo, but when I get a red Turbo Ranger, I am going to, obviously he's going to keep his helmet on, and that's going to be representing Jason David Frank. I have all the power coins for a Master Morpher that I do plan on doing sometime in the future, but for right now, we got the Black Dino Thunder Ranger. I just need the Yellow Ranger, Kira, to complete the Dino Thunder set. I am looking to get Mesogog at some point. Now, right now, Mesogog is actually on sale on Amazon for $19.99. So if you're looking to pick him up, I'm going to have a link in the description below. Now, this, I did not pick him up through Amazon. I actually picked him up. A good friend of mine saw two of these in a store. He got one for himself. He got one for me. So there we go. He picked me up Dino Thunder Black, and I couldn't be happier. Now, of course, there was also a storyline where Tommy was stuck invisible and was stuck in his Power Ranger suit, which is kind of weird. But and for a good portion of the show, of the series, he just did the voiceover work. I think there was some family stuff going on. I'm not too sure of the actual story, but I am so glad to have the Black Dino Thunder Ranger. Like I said, it's aside from the paint and aside from the nostalgia of me having Tommy's final form, I mean, there's nothing really overly special about this figure, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I'm a Ranger fan. I love Dino Thunder. But ultimately, if you're asking, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I mean, as I said, it's a pretty average Ranger body. Aside from the paint, the pauldrons here, and the helmet, and his brachio staff, there's nothing overly special about him. You know, it's a basic boot, a little bit of trim here. The joints don't feel overly tight, but they don't feel overly loose. I always recommend using a flight stand of some kind. You can even lower it so that he's standing in like a fighting pose. Like so. But, I mean, honestly, if you can get him on sale, get him on sale. Is he worth $26, $27? In my honest opinion, and you guys are going to look at me sideways when I say it, I'm going to say no. It is an average Ranger body. Okay? An average Ranger body, because it's your basic sculpts. Don't get me wrong, we have a very good Jason David Frank head here. And yes, I could take this head and I can put it on a Green Ranger and it'll look perfectly fine. You know, it'll be the older Green Ranger from the end of Super Mega Force. You know? We can do like the, like I said, the little claw hand. Honestly, I mean, if they want to sell these figures for $28, $27, They're like $26.99 at some places. I wish they would do a little bit more. I mean, on average, most people, if you're into Power Rangers, you know that they have terrible head sculpts. Uh, the, they've been getting a little bit better. Jason David Frank, they always did pretty well. Um, I don't know if maybe does he have a more symmetrical face that makes it easier for sculpting. I don't know. But I know that a lot of the past Ranger heads have looked like complete and utter trash. I'm a Power Rangers fan, but I'm going to tell you guys how it is. Um, so yeah, and also I'm going to have a link to these stands. I get these stands through Amazon as well. I'm going to have a link in the video description below. No, I do not have any affiliation. I am not an affiliate with Amazon. I just want to help you guys get some good stands. These are good for taller figures, or if you want to do like a fighting pose of some kind. There's a lot of stuff you can do with these because they have a little bit of a thicker clamp here. So there's a lot of different things we can do here. It would be great if they would release his. He had a like a brachio cycle, kind of a four-wheeler. It'd be cool if they did something like that. Like here, I have him kind of in a running pose right here. You know, that's just something different that you could do if you wanted to. You don't have to, but it's just a little idea here. We can have. Let me see if I can get that back in this holster. So it looks like we got Dr. O, Tommy Oliver running into battle, and that's just cool. That is just cool. So there we are. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give the figure itself, I'm going to give it an 8. An 8 or, I could be generous, say 8.5. The sculpt is good, but I'm going to say this is about an 8 to an 8.5 at best. Because, I mean, we get the, little orange blast effect, which is okay. We get Tommy. Like I said, they could have splashed a little bit of gold on the morpher to give a little bit more detail, especially if they're charging us more money. And I mean, just giving us the obligatory closed fists. It's kind of Marvel Legends all over again. But guys, that's the video. There we are. What do you think of this? Do you think I am being critical? Do you think I'm being generous? Let me know in the comments section below. And by the way, guys, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Hit that bell for notifications and keep an eye out for more videos coming through the pipeline. We have a lot more unboxing coming your way, and we have some different kind of videos coming through the pipeline as well. We're looking at doing some upgrades to my Spangler Proton Pack from HasLab, so stay tuned for that. But guys, until next time, this is Dave from Dave's Dimension saying keep on busting, and I am always going to catch you on the flip side. Take care.